Hey everybody. So, I decided to come on here today to share what I would like to call my truth. And I've contemplated doing this video for quite a while, but I know it needs to be done. And I decided to do a video just simply because to me it's easier to do than to have to share my truth over and over and over and over again to those that I think needs to hear my truth. So that's why I'm going to do this video. So anyway, I'm going to talk about a topic that I've never really shared with anyone really. Maybe a few family members can say that they've had a conversation with me about this topic, but not many people I've had this conversation with. I don't believe. So anyway, again, like I said, this is my truth. And I feel that hopefully this will be therapeutic not only for myself, but also those that may be able to relate to my truth. So anyway, those that may have watched on Facebook or, are friends with me on Facebook or possibly Instagram, a couple of days ago, well, a couple of weeks ago maybe, I could say, posted a couple of pictures and the word surgery was in the caption, or whatever you want to call it. So I really didn't go into a whole lot of detail in regards to my surgery, that I was having surgery, and I'll explain all of that in this video. But so I could tell you this, that the surgery did definitely change my life. It changed my life for sure. And yeah, and the road to recovery has been very interesting, but surprisingly enough, it hasn't been as bad as what I thought it would be. I think the road to getting here has been a lot more painful than the actual where I am today in my life. So I'll go back a couple of years so that you can understand what I'm about to share with you. So I am a daughter of a mother and a father, of course, and I have 3 sisters. My name is Hope. My 3 sisters' names are Grace, Faith, and Charity. And so, we come from humble beginnings, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, as a teenager, I have always had issues when it came to my weight, and also I've had issues when it came to, I'll just say, my woman parts. And so this was not something that I really discussed with a lot of people, not even with my mom, but I've always had issues with my women parts. So as time would go along, I would get older, and I got married at 23. And to make a long story short, I had been married from the age of 23 till today. And I am, years old. And so I have been married for quite a long time in my life. And if anybody knows, with marriage, there are certain luxuries that in some people's world you would have being a married woman versus being a single one. One would be the ability to be able to have free sex when you like and without conviction. I say that because I was raised in the church, so therefore, sex before marriage, you're going to hell. But yeah, so in a lot of people's mind, that's how they feel. And I mean, this is not about a debate on what God says on this, that, and third. This is just basically on the mindset of explaining what I'm trying to explain. So, as I said, with me being married from the age of 23 till today, I've had a lot of time to be able to experience having sex, basically. And we all know that having sex creates babies in a lot of situations. So, two factors, as I said before, from times I was a teenager, young teenager, I've always had issues with my women parts. And me being married for the amount of time that I've been married, I've had access to a lot of opportunities to be able to create babies. And if you know me, I don't have any. And so this has been something that I have dealt with silently. Never told anyone how it felt. Really didn't have the words to explain how it felt. I would be asked questions. When you plan on having a baby? When you have a baby? Your sisters, they got babies. When you gonna have one? And I never really knew how to answer that question. So for me, the best way to answer that question would be, when God wants me to have a baby, he'll give me one. That was the only answer that I know to give. I love children. I've always desired to be a mom, but it just never happened. I would hear different stories about women that had issues in their woman parts, but still had babies. I've heard situations where women have been overweight and still had babies. And so in the back of my mind, I always felt like, okay, these can't be the reasons why I don't have a baby. It has to be just because God didn't want me to have one just yet. So that's pretty much how I live my life. Yes, it was very stressful. Yes, it was very emotionally draining on me, to be a wife and to never be able to produce a child. It was always something that internally I kept to myself, but it was always something that bothered me. Yeah. So, with that being said, I continue to live my life, do what I need to do, and, focus on those parts of me that I could have control over, because having a baby was not one of those things I had control over. There were things that would happen in my woman parts that would concern me. And I don't know if it was because of fear or what, but I never really took an active initiative to see what options were available to me. That was just an area that I just, was afraid to deal with. Not saying that, I didn't deal with my woman areas, but as far as fertility goes, that was something that I never really delved in. I just, left it up to, if God wanted it to happen, it would happen. But year after year after year, I would go. And one specific time of the year that I hated the most was Mother's Day. And I hated Mother's Day so much because Mother's Day was a day that praised women that had children and made them feel as though they were God's gift to the earth. Like, that was the epitome of what womanness was to have a baby. And if you didn't have a baby or you didn't have a child, you were not really a woman. And in my community, I would have to say, it's not something that I think is done directly to harm, but it is something that is done and said that a lot of times makes a woman feel as though she's not a woman unless she has a child. And honestly, I think that that's something that a lot of men feel as well when it comes to them being men. If you don't have a child, you ain't no man. And in my world, it was felt indirectly that if I didn't have a child, that I was not a complete woman. I was not woman enough to be able to say that I was a woman. And so that was just what that was. It's a silent thing that you deal with that you really can't tell a whole lot of people about. You just have to smile and, you know, just go along with it. So anyway, I got to a point where I was just, I was just living with it, living with the situation of it, and crying silently inside, but just, going on with life. And so when I got married to my husband that I have now, one of the things that I got to experience that I never got to experience before was being called a stepmom. My husband, he has 2 children, 2 boys, and I got to experience partially being a mother, I guess you could say, to them. Like I said, I've always loved kids. I've always loved being around children. I've always felt like I had, a great love to give to children and that I would be a great mom. But I got to experience that a little bit with them. And I enjoyed it. But I would definitely say that during that time when I first got to encounter them, there were a lot of things that were said about me and accusations that were made about me that really hurt deeply. It was many a times that I was reminded that I was not the children's mother and that I have no say-so and that I'm trying to take a woman's children and I'm overstepping my bounds when it comes to caring about them because they're not mine. And if you should go have your own kids and this, that, and the third. And to say that those words were not stressing to me will be a lie because they were. But, I had to keep pressing forward and pushing through. I never felt like I was trying to take on someone else's responsibility. I actually thought that I was helping or trying to contribute to make that person's responsibility a little bit easier. But anyway, I had to eventually back away from that because the stress was getting very, very heavy, and it was putting me in a place of a whole lot of frustration that I had to realize was not worth it because I just couldn't try to force someone to believe that was not my MO. So I had to just go on with my life. Do I love my stepboys? I definitely do. Do I wish that I could contribute more to their lives? I definitely do. But the situation is what it is, and so, that's that. But anyway, so I will move this on to today. And the purpose of this video. A couple of weeks ago, well, this actually started happening, I would say, within like 2 years of me moving to New York City. Some things have started changing in my life, and my body started changing as well. And I started encountering some things that were like very, very traumatic for me from a physical standpoint. I never told anyone, I just dealt with it on my own. And I started having some major issues when it comes to my woman parts. And some of those major issues would cause me to have to go without being able to do everyday activities because I was so overwhelmed with my woman parts that I could not function. And it was very, very mentally and physically draining for me, to the point where there were times that I was actually admitted to the hospital for days. And some of the times where I was there, I had to be administered certain things for my own daily ability to function, which was not good for me. And so this had continued to keep going on for over 2 years, on and off. And I didn't understand why this was happening, and it was very, very scary to me. So I got to the point where I wanted to be proactive when it came to finding out what was going on with me, regardless of what the outcome would be, finding out what was going on with me so that this problem could be fixed, because it was getting to the point where it was totally unbearable and I just couldn't live life like that. So went to the doctor, had a couple of tests done, and my gynecologist ended up sending me to a specialist. And at this point, I was like, okay, well, whatever this specialist tells me, I'm just gonna have to deal with it, because life as I know it right now is not the business at all. So go to the specialist, sit down and talk with her. She do a couple of tests, and she tells me that there's a procedure that she wanted to do, and she set up the appointment. So the appointment was set up, and I get myself prepared for this appointment. Go to the appointment, and I'm in the surgical room. It was a minor surgery that I was supposed to have. I'm in the surgical room. I'm in there all day long. I had to fast the night before. I didn't have no food. I'm just sitting in this room. Sitting in this room all day long. My appointment was supposed to be at, I believe it was 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock or something like that. I didn't end up getting seen until about 7. So I'm just sitting in this room. And my mind is racing, but the procedure that she told me I was going to get was not a major one. It was an outpatient type surgery, and I'll be able to go home after it was done. Same day. That's what I thought. So I go in. They finally call me in. I go in. They get me all prepared and set up. I was to be put under general anesthesia so that they can do this procedure. Like I said, it was a minimal procedure. I was going to be out the same day, no biggie. That's what I was told. So I go down. Next thing I know, I wake up, and the doctor tells me that they were not able to do the procedure and that they're going to be keeping me. So at the time, I'm drugged up on what's that stuff called? Anesthesia. So I'm sort of, loopy, not really understanding. I'm like, oh, okay. They told me they were going to keep me. So that one procedure that I was supposed to get and go home afterwards, I ended up staying 5 days in the hospital. And on the 5th day, I was prepared to make a decision that I know was going to change my life, which gets me to current day. I ended up having a total hysterectomy. And the total hysterectomy that I had was a decision that I had to make for my future health. What ended up happening was, when they tried to do the minor procedure, which was a DNC, they were not able to because they found a mass. And the mass was covering their ability to be able to go into my woman parts. I'll say it that way. So what they ended up doing instead was they ended up doing a biopsy. And what they found with the biopsy was that there were cancerous cells in my uterus. And that the size of the cancerous cells in my uterus were larger than my uterus. It stretched it out, actually, I would say about like 3 or 4 centimeters. Larger than what it is supposed to be on a normal situation. So, with there being cancerous cells in my uterus, they recommended a hysterectomy. Now, the way that my brain works, when I started having these issues early on, I had been thinking about a lot of different scenarios on what this can be, what the outcome would be, and those different types of things. So, having a hysterectomy did cross my mind in regards to, if that was something that had to be done, how would I feel about it? And I had a lot of time to think about it while I was in the hospital those 5 days, because I knew that this was something that ultimately was going to be the final result based off of what was going on with me. And I decided to go ahead and make that decision to do that. I felt like that decision was the best for me, especially given my alternatives of the diagnosis as well as what was going on prior to the diagnosis. So I went ahead and did that. Talked to my husband about it, and that was the decision that I made. So today I stand before you just to tell you what has happened and how I'm getting through it. Surprisingly, I am doing a lot better than what I thought I would have been doing. Realizing the fact that unless I'm creating another Jesus Christ, which we don't need another one of those, I will not be able to produce a child out of my body. And I'm okay. Surprisingly, I'm okay. I always thought before today that me not being able to have a child and know that I cannot have a child would be something that would be totally devastational. But it actually was not. Especially given the circumstances of what caused me to have to be in this current state. And I stand before you to say to those that may feel as though they are suffering in silence and that they are less than a woman because they are not able to produce a child or don't know why they cannot produce a child. You're not alone, and you are not damaged goods. You are not less than a woman because you cannot produce a child or have not been able to. God has a purpose for each and every one of us, child or not. Even though I cannot produce a child now, I do still have options in regards to having a child in my life. And I may consider looking into some of those things, those options. But the purpose of this video is to basically tell the world my truth, which is I'm Hope Johnson. I am 21 years old, have no children, and will not have no children through my body. But I am still fearfully and wonderfully made by the Lord Jesus Christ. And there's a lot of great things that will come from me, that will be birthed out of me, regardless. And that may feel as though God has forgotten you. He made a mistake when he made you. To some, this might seem very small, but to a lot of women, this is a huge thing. And for all of those women that struggle mentally with finding themselves and their identity and their purpose and their worth because they base it off of having a child. He created you. He created you for a purpose. He created everything about you. Things in life may happen that may cause some things to not happen the way that you would want them to. But God still has a purpose for your life. Purpose, and know that you're going to be okay. And I stand before you okay. You're just someone. Have my road to this place been easy? No. And I'm still recovering now. I just had surgery on the 14th of April, and it is the 26th. I was told that I was supposed to be recuperating and recovering 4 to 6 weeks. My life does not require that, does not allow that. But I did get some time to rest, and I feel great actually. So, yeah. So that is my truth. Like I said, I hope that this helps someone. I hope this encourages someone. For all of those that have been praying for me, thank you so very much. Your prayers have obviously been answered because I'm here to talk about it. Um, and thank you so much. God bless you. And I pray that you have an awesome day.